Hey, so I took a chance on finding a new movie today. I took a break from work, technically. I was watching this in the background. The movie's called Reminisce, and it's a sci-fi movie on HBO Max. You could watch it right now, or go to theaters to watch it. It stars Hugh Jackman as a guy, one of two, working on some memory equipment. And they encounter this particular woman who is mysterious, and she's alluring, and there's something very mysterious about her, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. But anyways, it has a lot to do with memories and going through people's memories, but none of the ethics of doing so. Maybe like a couple of the ethics of it. But it's a romance story. It's a love story between Hugh Jackman and this particular woman. I know, who saw that coming? Boy, don't we all love Hugh Jackman. And it's a romance story with a sci-fi backdrop. You know, what can you say about it? I was not a big fan of this movie. It was not a movie made for me. I am not the target audience. But I gave it a chance, and you know what? There's some things that are good about it, there are some things that are bad about it. The things that I will say good about it were, it was shot very nicely, it was shot very beautifully. The actors were really good in their roles. I didn't really mind having Hugh Jackman there. I mean, you know, you always think that he's Wolverine, but they did play on his height. He's definitely not Wolverine here, but he's got the menace, he's got the look, he's got the seriousness, he's got the dramatic looks, and he can do a little bit of the action as well. You know, he's got that experience under his belt. But he's also got that sweet side to him that I think is so very charming. And his assistant, I'm totally blanking on the name, but she was wonderful in this movie. I think there was a lot of good acting moments in this movie throughout, a lot of good scenes. And even in this trailer, you can see a lot of these scenes are shot very beautifully. They're very interesting. They're good to watch. The underwater scene, I did not mind. I don't really like underwater scenes, and they did this one very well. There's a couple fight scenes in it, and they're like, okay, whatever. Anyway, good stuff. Yeah. The other good thing that I have to say about it is that there was a moment in the very beginning of the movie where they're explaining to you the purpose that people go through the reminisce moment of it. And as far as I know, they only say like reminisce maybe a few times throughout the movie. That's fine, whatever. I'm not picky. And the way that they explain this to you and to exemplify it is by having a man who lost his legs in the war, from what I believe. He's in the tank, and he wants to remember a specific memory, like all the time. And it's a very happy memory. It's something that everyone wants to do. They want nostalgia for the good times. So they get him in this tank, and you think, oh, it's probably going to be a moment when he's walking with his daughter, or he's dancing with his wife. You know, something very sweet like that. But instead, he's playing catch with his dog. And I thought that was a nice way to subvert expectations. It was just a really nice, pleasant moment, and I wish this movie had more of those, but it's not the focus of the movie. I can already tell you that, it's not the focus. The sci-fi is not the focus. And I'll say it again, sci-fi and the dystopian world is not the focus. It is these characters. But unfortunately for me, I was not interested in these characters. And that's not a mark against Hugh Jackman or his co-stars. I think they did a great job in it. I think it's the writing. There's something with this plot and the way that it played out, that there were logic problems, and that there were moments that felt really mechanical and stiff, and they just had to happen. I'm usually not a big, stickler for these things. Usually with a movie that is, especially sci-fi, I can just turn my brain off and just accept the world the way that it is. But when it is people doing certain things that are questionable, or like complete 180 of their characters, I am not a big fan of that. Especially when I see it. especially when I can call it out. I'm usually the person that defends a movie to the death, no matter what movie it is. Like, if you give me a movie and you say, why did this person do this? I will immerse myself in that movie's world and say, well, it was probably because of this. It's probably because he was fighting one-handed and he was injured, you know, that kind of thing. If he was in a fight scene, or, you know, why did Peter Quill ruin everything in Infinity War and cost them the gauntlet, that kind of thing? Well, my role is to say it's because he was so distraught, and when you're so emotional, you do crazy things like that. That's me. That's my point in these things. And unfortunately, in this movie, there were logic problems in this that were so bizarre and so blatantly obvious and indefensible that I couldn't even get behind it. So, it's not for me. Otherwise, if you're just looking for something with kind of a steady pace and interesting sci-fi concepts, good visuals, and romance, with some twists in a plot, and a movie and a mystery that kind of plays itself out through a series of explanations, then this is definitely the movie for you. It's not for me. I can't really recommend it, but I can recommend enough for people that are looking for those kinds of things. So, with that in mind, sorry, I didn't mean to shit on the movie. I don't like shitting on movies, but it's not for me.